here we are now, 5:30 in the morning, and got my coffee, and we're ready to talk about Bleak Faith Forsaken because we are gonna throw this little bit of the VOD on a YouTube video. So for those that are here, I appreciate y'all. For those on YouTube, what up? It's your boy Wolf Smoke. Be sure to like and subscribe. But we're gonna be talking about Bleak Faith Forsaken because some very interesting claims now seemingly some substantial evidence that coincides with the claims on Bleak Faith. And I want to just kind of talk about them a little bit. So I've been seeing a lot of negative feedback on this title. Now this is a new Souls-like game that's been released. I'll show you guys, blow it up here. Bleak Faith Forsaken. Currently the game is $26.99. They released it at I think a very fair price point. Like, it's a 3-man development team. It wasn't a $60 game. I was excited to see that price point. Me being one who I game on a budget, I'm a single father, all that, and have my kids full time. So I gotta pick and choose usually. And this being at a lower price point, it was easier to, all right, yeah, we're gonna pick this up. Now I've picked this up. I've watched some gameplay. I have not dove into the game myself yet. Now I have a controller and I do have my mouse and key setup. I'm obviously playing on my PC, and we're gonna see and we're gonna compare and contrast the controls because I've heard some animosity going on in the sense of the controller is not viable and that you need to play on mouse and key. We're gonna put that to the test. Before we jump in, and what I wanted to kind of cover about Bleak Faith, because we do have some newly gathered information around it, we do have quite a bit going on with this title. Now, there's been heavy speculation, and someone via Twitter decided to share another post with me. We had a good discussion, which I'm going to kind of go through with you guys. And I normally don't show like my Twitter. I normally don't do the back and forth. I'm not one of those people. But this was actually a very good interaction on Twitter. I rarely have those. This was actually a very good educational and informational conversation had with another Twitter user. Like, what? That just doesn't happen. So I do want to speak to this and kind of show you guys what was all entailed, and let you guys know from the jump. I've been advocating for this game. It's a 3-man development team. It's a Souls-like game that looks awesome. I think it looks great. I was really excited about it. So myself being an Elden Ring player, and we're gonna get to where this parallels. Um, Myself being an Elden Ring player, I was excited about a new Souls-like game. So let's go ahead and let's go over here really quickly. And she followed this. She or he followed. This is the person that I was having a bit of the convo with. But let's just jump over here. Let's go live scene. So we're right here now. I had made a post here. And I said a lot of people speaking negative on Bleak Faith because it's not fucking Elden Ring 2.0. I will be diving in for myself to review this game and give it a fair rating and review, which is what we're here to do today. They tweeted that they will address needed fixes as early as Monday. Give them a chance. And that is referring to the 3-man development team, which via their Twitter, they have already went ahead and stated, like, we're hearing the feedback for controller support loud and clear, as well all the bugs reported. We are taking this evening to recover and are starting as early as tomorrow morning on the fixes and controller support. This was March 10th. We are now on the 12th. They're working through the weekend. Mind you, they launched on Friday. They're saying we're going to take today to recover. They're probably celebrating the fact that the fucking game launched. You know what I mean? Like, that's awesome for them. They're celebrating and they're getting nothing but negative feedback. That's not going to feel good. So obviously they're going to address it. They're letting us know, hey, we hear you guys loud and clear. We were celebrating. We're going to get to it. You know what I mean? So I'm going to give them through this next week. Hopefully things get fixed, patched up, all that. Now, it might take them longer to fix things. I'm just hopeful, right? I'm just speaking to that. Sorry, I'm not used to having my camera here. I keep looking where my camera used to be, and that's crazy. Anyway, let me actually face you guys and talk to you guys really quickly. But let's go back over here really quickly because it was more so like my post that we wanted to talk about really quick and kind of go over the conversation that we had with someone because there's some animosity here behind this game, which is what I'm trying to work to. And sorry it's taken me a few minutes to get here. I found it very interesting. Now, myself, I've already disclosed I enjoyed playing Elden Ring, absolutely loved it. And I had stated, look, I'm going to try this out for myself. I'm going to be sure to give it a fair rating and a review. I'm going to plan on putting it up on YouTube, right? And installing now, this was 11 hours ago. Mind you guys, I was in the middle of moving my room around. I was downloading the game. I pretty much saw the game finish downloading. I had noticed a couple larger names had been playing the game, so I tuned into their gameplay. I ended up falling asleep. I was just super burnt out. But now, here, ready to go, and I got quite a few hours till I need to be anywhere. So I said installing now, live when it's ready. That didn't happen. I fell asleep. But I put my own little thoughts here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just speak freely. So I'm so fucking sick of people within the first 48 hours on a game, horny as fuck, to make a negative review of a newly released title. Like, you want to make a controversial video for your own gain? You're a fucking loser. Like that's the way that I see it. You have to make controversial statements or you have to make these clickbaity type of videos because you can't make good content. Like in my opinion, making those types of things to get people to just click, that's not making good content. You might argue otherwise. People might get the views out of shit like that. I just don't I don't agree with doing things that way. I want to give people shit that they actually are interested in. So if you're not a Bleak Faith or Elden Ring fan, you're probably never going to watch this video via my channel or ever see it, and that's okay. This is for people that want this. You know what I'm saying? Like I curate my content that way. I don't need millions of followers and all these views. I just want to put out good content that people actually found viable. Where they're like, okay, cool, this was informational. Now I know. So this is a conversation had on Twitter about Bleak Faith and about some alleged stolen assets of the game. So check this out. My whole spiel was I was sick of people bitching, right here. If you go into any game expecting it to be like another, you're already taking a biased position on reviewing a new game and its player experience. This is for people that were expecting Elden Ring 2.0, which I saw a lot of negative reviews on Bleak Faith based upon the fact it doesn't feel as good as Elden Ring. It's like you have a 3-man development team versus From Software. Or you can't even fucking, it's not even apples to oranges as that at that point. You know what I mean? It's a fucking mountain to a little pebble is what you're trying to fucking compare and contrast. There's a huge and vast difference between a multi-million to billion-dollar development company and a 3-man fucking development team. Now, speaking to that, the affordability that these teams have for their development, right? This 3-man dev team that started this, 4 or 5 years ago as like a passionate type of like build and hobby, and then they decided, hey, we want to make a game. They everything else. Then you got FromSoft that's been putting out games fucking years. Bandai Namco, everything else. Like those parties involved, right? You can't compare the two. So what I want to speak to really quickly is Bleak Faith is being accused of stealing assets from Elden Ring. Now, there's a lot to that, and I want to cover it. So, someone had corrected me when I stated that people were mad that this wasn't Elden Ring 2.0. He says, well, no, they're ragging on it for literally ripping animations directly from Elden Ring, which is illegal. So I pushed back on this because I have, at this time, had not heard anything in regards to this, right? I had not heard anything through the grapevine. I didn't see nothing on Twitter. I didn't see anything. But I started out with, and your proof is where? I wanted him, or let's see, we got Kenneth right up here is what he goes by. Fucking PFP'd profile, right? I'm thinking it's more of a bot, but that seems like it seems like it's an answer from a real person, right? So I'm going, okay, well, where's your proof? I was like, Elden Ring and this game feel entirely different. This is what I've heard, right? I haven't played the game yet. And if you have all played or viewed, which I've only viewed, but I've been viewing like Asmongold and other individuals who are fucking goats at Souls-like games, and especially Elden Ring, they have a lot of hours logged in. So they know to compare and contrast the two. From what I heard, they said that this game feels clunky, slow, sluggish still, and it does not feel like Elden Ring. That's they were like, this isn't Elden Ring by any means, right? There was a lot of like consistently that's been stated. So I was stating that there's a vast difference between the mechanics. Now someone chimed in and we're gonna get there, but I actually had my mind changed, and I'm a big enough person to own that and to say it. And like, hey, look, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong in what I was saying. But let's go ahead and critique this a little bit further. I was asking where the proof was. We're gonna go Siri is what we're gonna call this individual, who I ended up having a very productive conversation with. Again, just wanted to say that because you don't normally have these types of productive engagements on Twitter. At least I don't. I don't know what your guys' experience are. Let me know, maybe in the comments below. Do you guys like using Twitter for interactions with people, or do you guys just like to shit post because no one actually takes it seriously? Anyway, this got to a relevant state of being serious and a true conversation to be had. With that, she was saying, or we're going to say she because of the PFP. Literally just search it up. They ripped animations from the Abyss Watchers, Dark Souls 3, the Banished Knights in Elden Ring, Millennia in Elden Ring, the Uchi Katana, the Straight Sword, both from Elden Ring, and they're passing it off by saying they bought the animations from the Unreal store and that they didn't know. I think there's some skepticism here. I think this person is, at this point of reading this, I think this person is under the impression that the 3-man dev team buying those certain game assets and mechanics from the Unreal store, I think this person's under the impression that the dev team stated that they purchased it from the store to hide the fact that they were stolen. One can only speculate at this point. We don't have any facts, really. But we kind of get there. So let's go a little bit further. And I was like, and I was pressing back a little bit. I was like, okay, so then where's the lawsuit from FromSoft? Now I get this game just launched Friday, but this game just launched Friday and it was kind of a big deal in I think the Souls gaming space. Because unless you're playing Wulong right now, you're waiting for a new Souls experience. Which I'm not playing Wulong or Wolong or whatever else. I tried the demo. I'm ass at the game. I didn't pursue it any further. I know when to back up off of something. But I was excited about Bleak Faith. Again, it was, $26 or something like that to pick it up. It wasn't a $60 purchase. So I was like, hey, I'm happy with this. Let's check it out. So what I brought to this person's attention was like the whole Dark and Darker situation, right? Because they got pinned with legal action due to similar situations of stolen assets, which actually, I do believe the Dark and Darker, some of the devs from the Dark and Darker team came from another developer, another company. I think it was Nexon, but I'm not 100% sure if it was Nexon like as a whole or if it was some sort of game within Nexon that they worked on and or for. With that, those people built certain things during their employment at, I think it's Nexon. We're just going to go ahead and say Nexon because I think that's the right one. It might be, no, not Nexus. That's the mod thing. It's Nexon, where like Kartrider Drift and some of those games were made. Maple Story, also, I think one of their games. With that, you had some devs leave that, and then they're actually the dev team of Dark and Darker, and they're using shit that they had already wrote, coded, and built for other game assets for Nexon, which you normally have to do like a non-compete clause or anything that you build when under contract of a company as they are your employer in this time. When you build something while employed under a dev team, you don't get to take the shit with you after you leave just because you built it. That's like theirs. You built it for them. They have full right to it. So them having full right to it and them having copyright and everything and under trademark and what they do, you then leaving, taking that with you, and then using it in your own game, that is illegal, to my understanding. Now, this is a dev team and individuals, I believe they're located in South Korea. And with that, I don't know what their laws are. I don't know what the non-compete might be there. I can only speculate, but I know if this was stateside, the Dark and Darker team for sure would be at fault. Fraudulent things going on, stolen assets from the first game or from the development that they had already done. So like you can't do that sort of stuff. Now, what's in question with Bleak Faith, just to be clear, and what we have going on is their devs are saying that they bought from the Unreal Store these assets, these mechanics, these animations, these, slashes of the sword, these, other mechanics within the game. They're stating that they purchased it through the Unreal Store. However, and we're going to show a side-by-side video, those assets are said to have been stolen straight out of Elden Ring. And someone had made mention here, there was the Abyss Watchers from Dark Souls 3 was also kind of grabbed at. So there's FromSoft animations and different mechanics within the games that they have put out. There's different things. Those assets allegedly ended up on the Unreal Store, which were stolen, and those assets were then purchased by Bleak Faith and its developers and used in their game. So some people see this as Bleak Faith going into Elden Ring and ripping their shit and just taking it. Other people have the open mind of the devs stating that they purchased these assets. And I don't think the devs have disclosed or discredited the authenticity of the assets that they purchased. Meaning, I don't think they've stated if they have bought those mechanics that, yes, have been proven stolen, right? I don't think they've confirmed or denied that. All that they've stated was that the things that have been in question so far, as far as the mechanics and everything involved, that they purchased certain things from the Unreal Store. So, like anybody could, if making their own, animations, whatever else, if you're building a game, whatever it may be, you have access to the Unreal Store. Anybody does, right? So the line in the sand that I'm trying to draw here is, and I'm wondering, and if you guys would let me know in comments below or reach out to me if you're actually interested in this topic. I'm curious as to where does the blame truly fall? And there's a couple different ways we can look at this, right? If Bleak Faith bought these mechanics and assets from the Unreal Store, are they truly at fault? I say no. If it was that simple of a transaction, if that's all that it entailed. Because they bought it from the Unreal Store, plenty of other people have access to those assets. Now, if those assets and mechanics that are hosted in the Unreal Store are in fact stolen, well then the Unreal Store, Epic Games, which I do believe is the host of the Unreal Store and that whole engine and everybody involved there, they need to figure out how stolen assets got hosted in their store and there was no authentication or sort of screening involved to say, actually, this is a script that was taken out of FromSoft's game. We can't host this here because this isn't purchasable normally. This is stolen and we can't host it in the store. Like, you see what I'm saying? So, like, can we really blame a 3-man dev team for buying something from the Unreal Store if it happened that way? Now, another way to look at this, let's go foil hat really quick. Let's say that they actually just ripped it. Well, obviously, they're going to be under copyright and trademark from FromSoftware, and they're going to be at FromSoft's fucking mercy. That's a given. Anybody that knows the legal aspects of these sorts of things, you're going to understand that. But there's another kind of a weird way to look at it, and I'm not 100% sure of how the Unreal Store works because I don't build games. I'm a player of games. And we have some controversy here that we're going to kind of walk through a little bit. So let's go ahead and say if the Unreal Store, you can, as an individual, host assets on the Unreal Store where if a company purchases them, you as the individual who hosted that through the Unreal store gets paid. Think of it as if you make a beat and a big artist actually wants it and they come and they buy it, right? They purchase the beat off of you. Well, if you host the beats through a certain like platform or site, right? Normally they get a little cut, but you still get paid, right? And that's cool. But if you stole that beat and put it up there because there's no screening and authenticity, and a big artist goes and buys it, not knowing about, so and so few states away who's got a decent sound in his local area and shit, but he actually made and produced that beat. He can come back and not only on the big artist, he can come back on the motherfucker that sold it on the website to the artist, because legally that's all going to come back around. And he's got full rights and everything, or should at least, because he's the curator of it. He would obviously have it, and you'd have like the original file and all the actual building of the beat. Like that's the type of shit. So like these assets, if stolen, right? They look stolen. We're still getting to that. If those assets are stolen, then obviously there's an issue here. But do we really blame a 3-man team if they bought it legitimately through the store? Or is it more the store of the Unreal Engine that is more in question? Or who was the one that took it from FromSoft and put it in the Unreal Engine to make it purchasable? Because I feel that is the person to blame. And any sort of backlash Bleak Faith is getting, mind you, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here. Let's be real. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt in the fact that they purchased it from the Unreal Engine store. That's what I'm hoping, is that they bought those things from the Unreal store. That gives them some credibility still. And I want them to hopefully not be in the wrong here. That's what I'm hopeful of, but only time's going to tell what really happened. But to further, basically this individual, when I asked like, well, where's the legal action going on? And we covered the Dark and Darker thing, where that's an actual legal case, and that game is pretty much held up pending those legal allegations that have been filed against. With that, you have, obviously her response, not all these things are going to be ending in a lawsuit. Like FromSoft has a lot of other things going on, big projects and everything else, but who knows? There might be like a cease and desist or a crackdown on illegal ripping from this whole situation. This might draw some eyes into this sort of issue. This person, I think, also is speculative on the fact the devs potentially could have purchased these mechanics in game and stuff like that. I think this person's a little bit on the fence. As now, I'm kind of back and forth on the fence as well. But yeah, so right here, this person discloses that the 3-man dev team of Bleak Faith, right? Plus the devs have already admitted to buying the assets from a store unknowingly and didn't actually make them themselves. Okay, so if they bought these assets and they were stolen assets, at what point do you keep blaming the consumer? And then at what point do you blame the person who blatantly stole the shit and hosted it for sale? Because I feel that party, whomever, whatever may be involved there, whoever hosted the stolen stuff for sale, they obviously ripped it. Or in a sense, they got that and they just put it out there to make a quick buck. They, I feel, should be more at fault than Bleak Faith. If Bleak Faith went through a legitimate avenue and purchase from a store, because anybody else can go in and buy this as well, which means if I wanted to make a game, Blake Feith, right? Yeah, I'm gonna make Blake Feith and I'm gonna make my own Souls-like game. Well, fuck, I don't really have time or the next 2 months to learn how to perfect this sort of mechanic. I want to get this out. I'm doing a budgeted game anyway. It's me and my homies. Fuck it. All right, I bought that shit. All right, cool. Boom, 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 boom. Fucking get it all going. Map out your different pinpoints for your animations. Make sure everything looks groovy. And then you're good. You already have the coding involved and it's built. You're ready to go. It's plug and play asset for your game. Now then we find out later on that Blake Feith has fucking FromSoft coding in it. Well, that's an issue. Because I bought it from fucking So Real. You know what I mean? Like, You get what I'm saying? Like, at what point is it, is it really my fault because I went and I bought it off of fucking whatever else and I just use it in my game? Where's the check for authentication? Is there a way to do that? This is all gonna blow up, I think, larger into the overall gaming space if situations like this keep happening, where, oh, these animations and mechanics are from this game, but it's hosted in the Unreal Store. How are these stolen assets getting hosted in the Unreal Store? Number one. Number two, they are stolen assets. Why are you blaming the consumer? It's not. I doubt that they went in and bought something that said this is the Elden Ring mechanic for the Uchi Katana, wink wink, and then they bought it to know that it was that. I don't think that was the case. You get a preview of what the animations could entail. You get a very brief description. I feel like that they were hiding the fact that they were stolen assets. I think Bleak Faith likely purchased these things just to move things along and get the ball rolling. Plus, they wanted something that was going to work, right? They saw that these worked, so they purchased them. I don't think they did anything malicious. I don't think they're copying Elden Ring in a malicious sense. I don't think they acquired these in a bad way either. I think, hopeful, that they purchased these legitimately, and at which point I don't feel that they should be at fault for that. It's a three-man team. You literally, like, even like, put it into the scope. Even when you hear about a new fucking WoW expansion, you understand that hundreds of people have likely fucking worked on some aspect of that one expansion? This entire game was curated and built by three people, and they utilized outside assets. So now, speculation, how legit were those assets? Well, some of them seem not to be legit. And then can we really call it a three-man dev team if they went and they bought other assets and everything else? It's like, dude, you guys are so quick to shit on people. It's mind-blowing to me half the time. So anyway, back to this. So sorry, but listen, the ripping of animations from FromSoft is theft. Well, yeah, obviously. Stolen animations is a whole other thing entirely, right? So them buying those stolen animations is something entirely. Ripping the animations directly from software is theft. I agree with her in both of those statements. In the first statement of ripping them straight from FromSoft, yes, that is theft. I stand with you there. But then buying stolen animations is a whole nother thing entirely, right? Whether that has grounds for legal action or not is really up to FromSoft if they want to pursue it. And that's because Bleak Faith, buying it through a store, they are merely a consumer. You can't expect a consumer to double check that it was the original and, to authenticate the fact that this was raw written mechanics. I mean, I don't feel that that's fair at all, right? So I was very much at this point following her on that, and I said that things do need to be addressed. But I was like, if a third party stole the assets and sold them to the devs of Bleak Faith, kind of questionable if Bleak Faith is to blame for that. That's tricky. And they said, exactly. It sucks for such a small dev team, but a lot of people are passionate about these types of games. Very true. And they seem to have garnered. Anyway, they seem to have fucked up a little bit in the gaming space to the gamers. Gamers feel, they got a bad taste in their mouth about this because it looks like that they stole shit right out of Elden Ring. I love Elden Ring, and if they did actually steal shit out of Elden Ring, I'd be very upset the fact that I supported and purchased Bleak Faith if they just straight up ripped the shit. But again, I don't think they did that. So let's go here and show you guys what's going on. This is what this person tagged me in. Saw this footage floating around. Bleak Faith Foresaken is 100% using animations ripped directly, one of one, from Elden Ring. I do not condone people using my DS Animation Studio software to aid in exporting animations to include in commercial products or sell them on Epic Game Store. So, I'm not sure what this says here. Using my DS animation studio. I don't know that. Okay, but what he's basically saying here, he does not condone someone utilizing a secondary software to rip animations and then re-upload them elsewhere for profitable gain, or to be used within commercial product being a profitable game. So if we watch this here, and I'm sorry, this is on Twitter, so it's gonna be blurred as shit. But if we watch this here, you have the Uchi Katana and the Claymore and Bleak Faith. I mean, I cannot argue. I cannot argue with that. That looks same exact animation, same exact mechanic. I had not seen this in my prior tweets, mind you. This is the first time I saw this video, was through this thread. And I was like, oh shit, okay, now I can see where people are speculating where those certain move sets and mechanics and animations were stolen. Yeah, absolutely. That fucking lines up 1-to-1. 100%. I see that. Yes, I'm not blind, right? However, again, how did the devs of Bleak Faith acquire these animations? Did they buy them through like the Unreal Shop? Or did they go and rip them themselves? Did they go and utilize some sort of animation studio software, and did they do this themselves and they're just saying that they purchased it on the Unreal Store, right? So listen, if they purchased it on the Unreal Store, there's going to be a purchase history, right? So then it breaks down from there is how does the Unreal Store work, which I don't know. This is just kind of open-end conversation and dialogue just for this little bit, where if an individual is able to host assets or mechanics or animations on the Unreal Store as an individual to sell within their own market, to where they sell that to Bleak Faith and they make the money, then via the transaction history, we're going to find out who stole the animations and who sold them to Bleak Faith very easily. However, if the Unreal Store is just umbrellaed of mechanics and assets and animations, it's going to be a little bit harder to figure out and find so quickly who is to really blame for the stolen assets and mechanics and animations that are in question. So if Unreal Shop is ran by a whole fucking big team of people, then they're going to have to go through and figure out if they can even pinpoint which, like, member of the team went and ripped that shit and, you know, put it up in the shop. That's illegal. That's blatantly fucking ripping. Or if Bleak Faith is lying about purchasing, and oh, when asked about a transaction history, they don't seem to have it. Oh yeah, well then that would be so discrediting. I would go as far as to say, well, yep, they definitely ripped the shit themselves, and these guys are in some serious shit. You know, listen, I would only be out $26 if this got a cease and desist and the game got killed. If these guys ended up being pieces of shit and stealing those, just blatantly stealing them, I won't even play the game if that's what entails. And I'm gonna hold myself to that. If they ended up actually stealing this shit, just blatantly doing it, and they're lying about buying those assets from the store, I will stop playing this game and do whatever I can to push for like a refund. Because you can't support motherfuckers that are stealing stuff, right? And I understand everybody's position where this looks really fucking bad. This looks really bad. Like, and I know it's blurry on my screen, I'm sorry, but this looks really fucking bad. Like, it is to the T. You can't argue with it, right? And it was hard for me to actually look at that and go, oh shit, okay, fuck, right? Because I had a standing position on this that like, nah, no shot they stole shit from Elden Ring. But again, I don't think that they stole it directly. Only time will tell. I think it's now technically Sunday. I think come Wednesday this next week, we're going to have some more information for sure. Because I'm sure by the time Monday hits, FromSoft is already going to be hearing about this. And I'm sure if they haven't already, they've already tried to figure out, you know, who stole the shit, who put it up. Did these guys actually buy it? Or did these guys actually rip it themselves? But this, I guess, is a breakdown of the animation studio that this person had tweeted about, where you have the raw with the overlay. So, you have these same move sets from these enemies, which is what this is showing here. And, look right here. It's, millennia, right? You have what, our first boss right here and one of the banished knights. I mean, it's almost perfectly timed and everything else, it's hard to watch because it looks very clear as day that that is a fucking problem, right? So, um, I think that's pretty much where the convo had ended. And, this person again, I had thanked them for sending me that video and for giving me this clarity and a little bit more clarification of what this whole controversy had, uh, as far as all the other specifics versus just hearing Bleak Faith stole animations from Elden Ring. Then it became Bleak Faith purchased potentially stolen animations, mechanics, and assets from Elden Ring, right? And then it's, well, if those are the implications, then why are we blaming the dev team if they just bought it through a store? We got to dive into the store or wherever they purchased it and see who sold it to them or what hosting store had that available for purchase, and then go from there to find out who put it in that store, right? So there's definitely some stolen assets from what I see that are floating around. And the main blame is on whoever ripped them originally from Elden Ring and put them up there for sale. You know, it could even be, I don't think Bleak Faith went, and that's where I'm getting at. I don't think Bleak Faith did this maliciously. I don't think they went through and just ripped off FromSoft and fucking took their stuff like that. The fact that they're building a Souls-like game, that they're trying to build something derived from their own experiences and what they wanted to build from their love of Souls-like games. And when you think of Souls-like games, you think of FromSoft. Like, you you pay respect to that as a Souls player. And like, I get where people are pissed, especially main Elden Ring players were like, they're like, dude, they blatantly took this. I agree with the fact that, yeah, they're stolen assets. But do we blame Bleak Faith if they just purchased them in a store? Because, they looked really good and they wanted something nice. I don't think all the blame is to be fallen upon Bleak Faith. But again, it depends on how the fuck they acquired these, So again, I'm gonna kind of wrap up the little bit of dialogue here. Um, and again, shout out to this Twitter user who actually gave me some viable information and wasn't sitting here bashing me or calling me a fucking idiot or anything like that, right? Was just giving me information, was also saying, kind of both sides of the story, right? Like, well, FromSoft could pursue legal action if they wanted to. They already have enough grounds, but will they against Bleak Faith? Who's to say? I think the legitimacy of if they purchase this from like the Unreal shop or otherwise, um, however it was that Bleak Faith acquired these, that is what needs to be investigated. That is where we need more information. And that is where I think we will know if there's going to be any sort of legal action filed against Bleak Faith or not.